Good morning, everybody, friends and colleagues. Welcome back to school. So excited to see everyone. Please join me in welcoming Matthew Berry, BHS senior and an incredible musician. That's still not. There we go. I am not nearly as good with the microphone as Matthew is on the piano. Matthew, that was incredible. Thank you for sharing your talent with us. I think such a great reminder, and this has become a part of our annual tradition of what happens when gifts and talents are nurtured and supported, and as educators, we just so appreciate having that reminder, but more than anything, having your incredible talent in the room. Thank you for sharing it with us. One more round of applause, please, for Matthew Berry. Just incredible. Once again, welcome back, and thank you to all of you. Thank you for all that you do. It's incredible to see you here this morning, your smiling faces. I know people are excited to be back, and we're excited to welcome you back. Please join me in welcoming our Board of Education, our Alumni Association leader, Mary Jane Link, and welcome back to everyone, of course. It is so great to see all of you, to have you here, to be together, to begin the journey again together. I'd like to begin, though, on a more somber note by paying tribute and expressing my condolences to so many of you. In June, and then most recently, we lost two of our colleagues, Malika Knight and Carol St. Brick were thoughtful, kind, committed, special human beings. They gave so much to our students and to all of you. I am so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for their family's loss. I'm sorry for our students' loss. I ask that you all pause now and take a moment to honor them and their memory with a moment of silence. Thank you. Let's now begin with an attitude of gratitude, as it were. I had the opportunity to walk through the buildings last week, and in my 14 Brighton openings, I will tell you I don't recall the buildings ever being in as good a shape as they are this year. Rob Luce, John Novelli, Mike Congelli, the building custodians, cleaners, and the entire B&G staff who works inside and out deserve our appreciation. Can you please join me in thanking them for all of their work? Our leadership team has worked tirelessly throughout the summer to prepare for today's opening as well. They're focused on being ready, making each day better and more impactful, perhaps less stressful for you, and in providing you and our students and families the support that they need. There are other support services that deserve our thanks as well. Please join me in thanking our clerical staff members throughout the district, our business office staff, central office staff, data support, human resources, student services office staff, technology, audiovisual, food service, and transportation staff whose work can be described as organizing, supporting, reorganizing, communicating again, redesigning it, and doing it again, all on our behalf. For our leadership team members, our support staff throughout the district, everybody who's done so much to get ready, please again join me in a thank you. Hopefully we can thank them in person for their work as well. I'd also like to thank for today's opening and preparing for this work. A moment to specifically thank Lisa Hartman, Jack Whitmer, Tracy Glazer, Nicole Vandermeed, Eric Gruner, Dan Goldman, and of course Kim Lanzafame for all of their help all of the time, but especially in preparation for today. We're so fortunate to be led by a Board of Education. I so value this concept of board members and the way they're elected and kind of the democratic tradition in our country of people who formed schools in their communities. Think back to a colonial era where people decided in a community who would represent them in choosing the traveling teacher, where they would put the schoolhouse, how much coal to purchase and to prepare for the wintertime, et cetera. And that tradition of school board service has come right from that particular era. The notion of representative democracy and local control over our schools, people, our friends and neighbors deciding what our kids should learn, how they should learn it, and what we should do with our school. I think it's at the heart and foundation of our democracy, the recognition of an informed citizenry being important, and local home rule again, being what helps decide that. Our volunteer school board members in this district have stood shoulder to shoulder with all of us. At a time in our nation when rational, research-based, reasonable decisions by educators are being questioned by many all of the time, our Board of Education has had our backs. They continue to have our backs, and they're not focused on politics, but they are focused on doing what is right by children and trusting educators to make educational decisions. That's a rarity. Please join me in thanking them for their work as well. So here we are. I am so pumped for this year. Probably thinking he needs more hobbies, but I really am. Very excited and very excited to welcome you back. We're fired up. So much good is happening. The promise of fall, the opportunity to send our kids back to school. We're very excited to send our kids back to school, as I think many parents are. Charlie is a senior. He's looking at schools. You know, somebody just said no. Yes, he really is. And he's preparing us for his exit well. He's visiting schools all over the place, mostly on the other side of the country or faraway places down south. I'm starting to get a little bit offended by that. I'm kind of warming to the idea, too. Peter, for his part, who started some 13 years ago or so in Lori Weidert's second grade classroom, I never would have envisioned this. sent me a picture last night from his study abroad in London. I will say the picture was not of, Buckingham Palace or Tower Bridge, but it was a pint on a bar watching a Premier League soccer game. I definitely didn't envision that when he was in Lori Weidert's class, for sure. And of course, Emma, our 5th grader, is so excited to start at Frez. By far our favorite child, again, just a reminder of that. And the boys who may hear about this later. There's no question, in fact, it's reinforced all the time. It's not even a close competition. This is probably way more information than you need, but I've had a little bit of a challenge, backache challenge lately, and I was playing golf with Peter this weekend, and somebody actually here introduced me to the miracle of a product called BioFreeze. The problem was this patch. I know I'm really dating myself now, but nobody needs to hear this, I'm thinking, as I'm saying it out loud. This patch to put on your back to make it feel better is in like an unreachable place. So I would think a reasonable request of one of your children is, hey, can you help me fix this? I think Peter was so disgusted by this notion of getting anywhere near my bare back. So my point is, I am so counting on Emma to wipe the drool off my chin someday. And she will, because clearly nobody else will at that point. So yes, my favorite. Emma understands and can't wait to go back that her job really is to work very hard with Shirley Flores on the burgeoning fandom of LaShara Evans and the Buffalo Bills. She may not be a fan yet, but we're working on it, and Emma is committed to that. So speaking of the Bills, Jeff Green, Director of Student and Family Engagement, fully engaged. I just fulfilled a life dream there, Jeff. This was great. We had the auditorium doing that. Is amazing, but thank you. Awesome. So the Bills, lifetime fan here, a bit of a metaphor for me. Now, bear with me. This might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm just a kid from Buffalo who had his heart broken 4 times, but for many years after that as well. Endured years of losing and my kids thinking that I was an abusive parent for subjecting them to Bills fandom. But we are emerging to a new Bills normal. We wouldn't want to go back in time to what was normal for them. So yes, we want to remember what was great about that time, but that doesn't mean we need to go all the way back. I mean, there are some things that make sense at a particular point in time, like certain haircuts. Thank you to Deanna Spagnola for submitting this picture. That made sense at that time. Or was it Molly Ringwald? I digress. There are certain looks on people's faces that are timeless and made sense at that time, Dr. Rio. Although admittedly, I've seen this look most recently as well. There are even pictures that our parents took at a time that made a lot of sense. I'm not sure present-day Lou in a picture pointing a weapon at anybody is a good idea. But it made sense then. I'm not sure how much these pants made a whole lot of sense. I do own several pairs now. If I'm going to be very honest about it, they do make sense now too. Or that miserable look on my face at high school graduation. But we learn from those things. And we think differently, but it's important not to let go of them and the past. But there's been a lot of discussion about this idea of going back to the way things were. And we wouldn't necessarily go back to those things, but perhaps there is a new normal and an opportunity to return to finding joy in our work and learning from where we were. Let's go back to predictability and feeling safe. That is where we want to be back to. Let's get back to patience and assuming good intentions. Let's not lose what we've learned about different ways to approach grading, parent communication, flexibility, the needs of kids and families, your needs, your mental health needs, and stress. Let's get back to that new normal, as it were. Another new normal that I'd like to bring up to you today and ask for your help with is our approach to tackling tough issues and finding balance, particularly political ones, in our classrooms. We're in, as is obvious to everybody, an unprecedented time relative to politics, political division, anger in our communities. And we've moved so far, I think, away from a country that can find middle ground and compromise. I am so hopeful that our kids can lead us in a different direction that way, that our kids will find that space, a time when things are negotiated, as I've heard it described, between the 40-yard lines instead of on the extremes. My own feelings on certain issues have probably not been a secret over time, and I'm sure it's caused undue stress, and I certainly have contributed to that problem, as many have, and caused uncomfortableness. Now, don't get me wrong, as far as issues regarding race, gender, sexuality, I don't think these are political issues at all. They have absolutely been made political issues. They are part of the political discourse. And I think we should push back on that and not allow it to be a political issue, but rather these are issues of humanity. And nobody should be able to question the worth of another human being, their human qualities, who another person is and how they express themselves, their background, their gender, their identity, their sexuality. But in terms of other political issues, we have had controversial Supreme Court decisions and likely more to come. Heated midterm elections are on the way, brewing political debates over the current and former administrations, and before long, the beginnings of the 2024 presidential campaigns. And I can relate to how hard it must be to achieve a balance in your classrooms with regard to these kinds of conversations.
Dr. McGowan, over here.
Oh boy, yes.
Hi, I'm a student at French Road, and I just want to interrupt with a quick question here.
Wait, you're a student at French
Road?
I'm
a student at French. I'm tall for my age, okay?
Okay,
sorry.
Gotcha. I am not tall for my age, but go ahead. Yeah. I can't relate to that.
So I noticed that we have gender-neutral bathrooms in our school, and that's cool and great, but when I went home and told my mom and dad, they said we should just have a boys' room and a girls' room, because that's how it was when they were a kid. And I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Well, actually, it's not important how I feel about it. Is it okay to call you Allison in this scenario? I digress with that. It's not important how I feel about it. What is important for us to think about, and certainly your parents are entitled to their perspective at home, but at school we have a series of rules that we follow, policies. And our policies say that this is the right way to approach this issue. And we want to make sure that we're respectful of everybody around us, all of the kids in our class and what their needs may be. So your parents are certainly entitled to that. I'd be happy to talk to them more about that. But at school, we're thinking about how do we support all of the kids around us, and how I feel about it doesn't matter as much as just taking care of each other. But thanks for asking that totally unplanned question. Much appreciated. So, as I was saying...
Wait. I know you want to start math class, Dr. McGowan, but...
Not really.
In 5th grade at French Road, we talk about a lot of stuff. We'll circle up, we'll ask questions. Did you hear they overturned Roe v. Wade? And I really want to know what your opinion is on it. So can we have a circle and you tell us what you think about it?
No, actually, we're not going to do that. Well, you know, as I was saying, Caitlin, to your very tall friend, Allison, how I feel about it doesn't matter. You're right, that is in the news. There was the Supreme Court saying, let's talk a little bit about what that means, what the Supreme Court does, how that impacts us in our communities, and what it means across our country. And let's talk a little bit about how it works when we set laws in our state versus when the country sets laws, and what the balance is there and how that works, and how the Supreme Court decides on these things, what the facts of those cases may be. I realize you're not going to really dig into the facts of the case about abortion at French Road, but my point is, it's not important how I feel about it, but important to get to how does that come about? How does that happen? Okay, so anyways, as I was...
Excuse me, Doc. I'm an aspiring accountant and public policy major, and I have a question for you. I was taught to believe in the free market, and I don't understand why government has to engineer such drastic energy and economic policies in response to what is a debatable climate change issue. Excuse me. What do you think about that? Why do we need to do this?
Well, I think, first of all, who did you say you were again?
Aspiring public policy major and accountant.
Oh, aspiring public policy major and accountant. I know a job that might be vacant soon that you could have, in fact. I would say to you, actually, how I feel about it doesn't matter. Let's talk a little bit about the science and look at some good resources for that. Let's do a little bit of research and understand both sides of that argument. And I'd love to have a good discussion in class with people that feel a lot of different ways about it, present factual information. Let's dig further into that and what the issues are around it, what the public policy issues are, what the economic impacts are, et cetera. So thanks very much for bringing that up. Can you thank all my colleagues for bringing those things up? I think the point is not that the four of us should avoid all dramatic endeavors in the future, but rather we want our students to be thinkers, to be leaders, to be citizens that can debate, discuss, and get to a shared solution. It's awfully hard to do that when some of the issues being presented are so very personal. And again, I would see a division between the issues around humanity, around who people are, how they identify, their background, race, ethnicity, that I don't believe are political issues, and we should push back on that notion, versus some of the issues that were certainly presented this morning. And finding a balance is key. If in our classrooms we share our personal opinions, some children will never share theirs. They won't be willing to risk their grade or your opinion of them to argue a point. They won't develop an ability to discern, to discuss, because they will simply feel that it is too great a risk to enter into that arena with you and with their classmates who might feel differently. So I'd ask you, please, 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 where you can, push them to think. Demand rigorous debate based on facts. Allow for discourse. Create a discussion. Help them hone their opinions without interjecting ours. One caveat, again, is that it doesn't apply to the human condition, and we shouldn't allow that to be a part of the political discourse. I am so hopeful that you can find, again, joy in your work this year and in those situations. And I know that sometimes I can be overly joyous in my responses as well. I was thinking a lot about this and sharing a story with you. I want to go back 15, 16 years ago or so, relatively new superintendent before I was here, and I was on a trip to Albany doing advocacy for a committee talking about legislation and different things we could be doing differently around funding. It was before I was banned from offices for talking about foundation aid. And relatively new again, sprite young man, so to speak, skipped downstairs to the Hampton Inn, all-you-can-eat breakfast. A couple other superintendents were sitting around. I was so filled with energy, excitement, hope. It's before that light was dimmed by some of those colleagues. And probably energetic and excited about the waffle on the buffet more than anything, and this idea, there's a free breakfast. This is really great. And really enamored with this. And I walk up to a table, and a colleague of mine, his name was Wendell, superintendent from Long Island. So I could probably just stop right there. But he was grizzled, wily, sarcastic, sardonic, veteran superintendent, probably doesn't even get at the heart of Wendell to much degree. And he looks up at me when I'm about to sit down at the table and says, "Good morning, how are you?" Actually, he says, "Good morning, how are you?" And I said, "Best day of my life so far, Wendell." This guy dropped his silverware and looked up at me with this look of complete disgust, disdain, disbelief, and in no uncertain terms said to me, "Well, you clearly have a distorted sense of reality." I was nuts. Just minimize this positivity. But I do want to tell you, for me, where that comes from and why I've said that to you many times. Some of you have heard this story I've shared with different groups before of a mentor and friend of mine named Jim Knowles. He was the high school principal at Iroquois that hired me as an assistant principal, which means you're probably already questioning his judgment. Regardless, Jim was this incredible person. He'd been an educator at Iroquois for 40-some years at the time. He'd only been the principal for the previous 5. He was a longtime teacher in the district. And always, 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 without fail, greeted people with "Best day of my life so far" when asked how he was. And it was such a positive way to start conversations, to start an interaction, and he meant it. He meant every bit of it. That moment of joy, that opportunity to spread positivity came from deep within Jim, and it was, I think, important to who he was and the tone that he was setting. So, at the risk of sounding like you walked into the worst couples therapy pre-Cana session ever, I do want to talk to you a little bit about joy and love. Joy, this feeling of great pleasure and happiness. And let me ask you to go back to a moment in time when you were hired for the position that you are in, that first moment when you recognize this opportunity that you have. Take a moment and think back to that. It might take longer for some than others. And do you remember that incredible feeling of pride, relief, excitement? Can you recapture that? Can you reflect on that moment and perhaps think about why you felt that way in that moment? There was anxiety, too, probably for some people in this room right now as well. I recognize that. But this opportunity that was awaiting you, and great joy for you, pleasure and happiness that you had this chance now to do what you had wanted to do. You had won the race, you had gotten the gig, accomplished something truly, truly great. But I'm guessing that it was also because you now had an opportunity to make an impact that was even greater than what you had been doing before. Back to my friend Jim, I think the reason why he said that and still does was that his joyfulness about being in a time and space that could make a difference. These opportunities that are on the screen before you. In your work, you have had the unique opportunity to make a difference in ways big and small, to impact children in their time of need, to create excitement and engagement along the way for people on their journey. You have had the opportunity to create joy, that magic moment. Every year just before graduation, I ask the assembled graduation party, faculty, board members, administrators, before we process out, to pause for a moment. And I ask them to reflect a little bit on where we're at. And they represent you, and I thank them for everything you have done to get kids to that place. But I also ask them to pause and look at each student just before their name is called to walk across the stage. And there's different looks on their face, but it's really an honor to be able to see that moment. Some of it is sheer terror that they're going to walk across. Some of it is hoping that their gigantic shoes that they didn't really think very sensibly about are not going to give way as they walk out. Or they're thinking about what they will say or do when Tom and I are standing before them. But at the end of all of it, they are standing there with a look in their eyes. The world is before them. Think about everything that has happened to you in your life since high school graduation. All of the things you've experienced from a personal perspective, from a professional perspective, everything that has occurred, that is all right in front of them. It is about to happen. It is just the coolest thing in the world to think about that moment, but also to reflect on the fact that you, all of you in this room, you got them there. They're in that moment because of you. They have gotten to that point well equipped to be contributing citizens, great human beings, thoughtful people because of your work. All the way from those in this room that start to work with kids actually through preschool services and preparing them to enter the school system, from Council Rock to French Road to the middle school to the high school, every single person in this room contributes to getting them ready for that moment, preparing them to be the great people that they are, the great alums that we have in the school district. So I don't ever want that contribution to be minimized or for you not to recognize or be told how important your work is, every piece that you contribute to that time and place. You've put them in that moment for sure. They quite literally have a lifetime of moments in front of them, and you've given them the tools to navigate those moments as well, to appreciate them. What an opportunity to give people that space to create joy and joy for themselves. You've heard it from me and will continue to hear it from everyone, this chance to give kids those experiences of a lifetime. Their story of their youth is being written now, and it's being written with you as a co-author. So you've heard it from me, you contribute quite a bit, but I think it is best said, frankly, by our students as well. Let's take a moment to enjoy what our students have to say about your contributions also.
Council Rock is a good school because the teachers listen to you.
They are always loving, and they give us free candy.
I like how long the amount of school is and how many playgrounds there is.
There's a lot of things about Council Rock that is so perfect. It is hard for me to decide, but I really think it's the playgrounds out there. Well, I really like about Council Rock are the teachers, really.
No teacher really here is like, I'm not sending you to the nurse or faking that.
A great teacher would be kind, loose, and funny, and loving to her students.
A great teacher, understanding, trustworthy, being nice to their students.
She might be like, oh, you didn't do the right thing, do it again, but you're not going to the principal's office, you know, so it's kind of like you have to redo it, but I can understand why you have to redo it because it's wrong.
I think being a good teacher is not making them think too hard, but not making them don't think at all.
When I am doing work and I do one mistake, and she says, it's okay, because we have always erasers on our thing, so we can just redo it and rewrite it. I think the best thing about teachers is that they're not really strict, and if something's wrong, they listen and help. Council Rock is a fun place to learn. Yeah. Thank you! We love you so much, guys. And we love all the teachers. We love all the teachers out there. So we wanted you to say thank you.
Guys is awesome because there's like teachers that are like very nice and like you can always like trust them if you want to talk to them.
All the teachers are nice. All the students are nice. And if they're not nice, the teachers will find a way to make them nice. I like that equipment and playgrounds that are fun, and I like that they have pizza on Wednesday.
There's a lot of, Kayla?
No, you go.
It's inclusive. Yeah, there's a lot of equality. It's really fun. The doorways are pretty big.
Fres is so great because you got the best teachers here.
They don't just teach you school-wise, they teach you like life.
Fres is just really helpful. The teachers are really helpful. Like if you need help, they have it.
The teachers always have like really fun, creative things planned for the kids.
They all gave me the best experience for Fres, and I can't thank them enough for giving me this.
What wasn't so great was when COVID began 2 years ago, schools were shut down and I had to learn remote, which was not fun.
Next
They're gonna
year
miss us.
now,
They're gonna miss
but
us.
when you're seeing this, it's this. Have fun this year.
Have fun. Fres teachers are amazing. Fres has been one of the best school experiences I've ever had.
Like, you guys are not gonna have like probably fantastic students like us, and we'll probably visit once we graduate.
That's the only like motivational part is that we're gonna come and then you can be happy again.
Yeah, you can help us not care that much.
Thanks for putting up with me and everybody else here because we all had a great time, and thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Thanks for being good teachers.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
So the teachers coming back from the end of summer, you know, they've been sitting around with their feet up, hanging out by the pool.
Middle School is a very diverse and helpful place.
They have a bunch of teams that you can be on.
I think it's way better than French Road. And the lunch is, as you'd expect, it's pretty school lunchy.
It's been very fun, but also like a lot because of COVID and stuff. So it was like the craziest 3 years of school.
I mean, during remote, they were extremely helpful in just getting through that weird time.
We didn't really technically have like a full year where it was like completely normal.
But I know that all of my teachers did really try their hardest to make it as easy as possible.
Well, I think it's a very big deal for them to just come back and get into the swing of things with no precursor. They just had to jump right back in.
Something that makes a great teacher would have to be like their main qualities.
Not holding a grudge against you if you had a bad past, I'd say. I mean, I guess everybody can change.
Being a teacher is probably one of the best things that you can do. I mean, like, I, myself, probably could never be a teacher just because I don't have the patience that a teacher has.
You see, I know the kids are annoying, and, like, we do, like...
We're not the best.
Not the best.
There is definitely going to be a lot of drama in your middle school lifespan.
A lot of drama. You know, working with just kids, like, day after day, I probably wouldn't be able to do that just because I get irritated very easily.
Well, every teacher I've had was like pretty up there in the good teacher realm.
You guys are great people and you guys should keep teaching for there are many years to come.
The students are fun, so
that'll make the experience better.
You really have changed a lot of lives and impacted a lot of people.
Here's your motivation. You had break and you still have kids.
I know it's really fun being around a pool or whatever you guys do during the summer, but we need you.
Your work is really making a huge difference to everyone around you and to the community as a whole, and making everything a brighter and better place.
Like, you just gotta teach. Yeah, we need you to come back to the school and change a lot more kids' lives.
Thank you, teachers! I have to say my experience at Brighton Central School District was the best.
Obviously, especially with COVID, it has been kind of tough for teachers having to navigate through Zoom and then coming back into in-person classes. But through it all, what I've noticed is that every single teacher has been very patient and very understanding.
Teachers make school very special and they make it tolerable and interesting. So teachers, your kids really need you. You know, teachers are everything in our lives, and you're the people who really drive us to be better students and better humans.
You guys are shaping the future generations, and without you, we're never going to experience change, so get to it and get people educated.
I always like to say teaching is kind of like a ripple effect. One, day in a class with a teacher can alter the course of, what a student chooses to do in life.
I honestly didn't know how to speak English until I moved to Brighton, and now I can speak like this, and I'm so grateful for every teacher that has been there for me throughout my journey.
You guys gotta get back in the classroom, gotta get to work, alright? I know the freshmen are weird, and the seniors don't care, but we just gotta do it. We gotta do it,
You
guys.
got this.
Come on.
Yeah, you got this. You got this, teachers. You are gonna slay this. Get back in that classroom and teach your future.
Prepare the younger generation. Just think about us walking the stage and think about how you want to get the next grade to do that.
Just be you. Don't try to impress the students because they're gonna think you're weird. That's one advice I'll give.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that made my high school experience special, and yeah, good luck in the future. Go Bruins.
Thank you. Bye. We love you. Goodbye. You guys are the best.
Bye.
So thank you for all that you will do to prepare for those moments. I'll give you one hint which one of those students is going to the University of Michigan School for Drama. Hugh Finnegan was a star there at the end. And you have put kids in those positions and clearly made moments of a lifetime for them, for every student, for every one of our children, thinking about how to engage them fully in the school experience and meaningfully and have this opportunity to write their story. So thank you for creating that space for kids to share, to debate, to develop their own ideas. Thanks for learning from the past, but carrying forward with a new normal, a wonderful new normal, and for finding your joy as well. I think the opportunity awaits for us to impact another entire group of kids, so I thank you in advance for your heart, for your soul, your time, your perspective, and for all that you are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and welcome back to school. So speaking of opportunity, we have many new faces here today who are also embarking on a new opportunity to spread joy here in Brighton. They are an incredible group of professionals who have the opportunity to learn here with us, for us to learn from them as well. We're looking forward to welcoming them to our team, so please enjoy these introductions.
The Brighton Central School District team is ready for the start of the 2022-23 season. Brighton has several new additions to their already strong team. Here's a look at those new staff members. For the district team, Dr. Tracy Glazer is the Director of Visual and Performing Arts, Instructional Technology, and Data Compliance. For the Council Rock Primary School team, Sandra Anthematin is a teaching assistant. Stephanie Cook is a special education teacher. Joe Hughes is a security guard. Zoe Knickerbocker is a first grade teacher. Kristen Lagana is a second grade teacher. Sheila McCarty is a teaching assistant. Rachel Much is a second grade teacher. Candace Pierce is a teaching assistant. Elizabeth Porta is a second grade teacher. Matt Pruitt is a teaching assistant. Vanessa Ruiz is a teacher aide. For the French Road Elementary School team, Jamin Chai is a fourth grade teacher. Megan Clark is a fifth grade teacher. Alana Colson is a psychologist. Allison Kuzmiano is a special education teacher. Jessica DeChilli is a fourth grade teacher. Lynn Diefendorf is a teaching assistant. Lashara Evans is the principal. Charleston French is a fifth grade teacher. Bill Jenny is a third grade teacher. Karen McGill is a food service helper. Tamarin McKnight is a fifth grade teacher. And Ghazi Al-Kafir is a social worker. Karen Schmertle is a teaching assistant. Catherine Wing is a special education teacher. For the 12 Corners Middle School team, Kira Charlton is a psychologist. Allison Cucciarelli is a music teacher. Alex Elkins is a technology teacher. Eiley Helligan is a teaching assistant. Lee Kirby is a teaching assistant. Cindy Logan is a family and consumer sciences teacher. Courtney Marius is a special education teacher. Glenn McCarty is an English teacher. Pam Michalski is a food service helper. Maxim Nim is a teaching assistant. Christina Pearson is a teaching assistant. Alejandra Rivera is a food service helper. Emily Roberts is a family and consumer sciences teacher. Julian St. Germain is a teaching assistant. Mariah Trainer is a security guard. For the Brighton High School team, Noah Barnell is a special education teacher. Lisa Chirpy is a security guard. Jeremiah Cooper is an instrumental music teacher. Kelly DeRizio is a social studies teacher. Sid Marie Garcia is a food service helper. Dr. Kristen Hallahan is a social studies teacher. Mark Heinz is a security guard. Laura Hernandez is a Spanish teacher. Abby Kamizinski is a social studies teacher. Aiden Koch is a teaching assistant. Mitchell Lalik is a Spanish teacher. Dr. Autumn Magliocca is a social studies teacher. Nancy O'Hara is a teaching assistant. Kevin Pierce is a math teacher. Lily Pro is a teaching assistant. Sarah Schron Metz is a special education teacher. Colleen Stone is a food service helper. Kelly Weeks is a social studies teacher. Jack Whitmer is a theater technical director. And Tricia Zeller is a counselor. Welcome to Brighton.
That's right, only thing better than one Porta and one Metz is two of each of those. So congratulations to all of our new staff. Could I ask our new staff members, could you please stand in the place that you are? Thank you. Welcome. We're so glad to have you and for our opportunity to learn from you and to learn with you. As I mentioned earlier, we are exceptionally fortunate to work with an incredible Board of Education. They support our work each and every day. They also support and participate in the annual process of identifying how we are doing, what can we do to continuously grow in our service to kids and families, and to think through how we will get that done. Our blueprint planning process involves many stakeholders and engages the district in an effort to align our work strategically and practically each year. It's not a plan that just sounds great, sits on a shelf, and simply gets talked about, but it is our guide for what we set out to do each and every year. You received materials from me yesterday, and I'm sure that people enjoyed reading them all last night. Just kidding. But it is this notion of continually getting better, continually thinking about how we can grow, being aligned as a district, being focused on our work, being intentional around particular areas that we would like to be addressing. This year's process highlighted 5 particular priority areas. They'll be detailed later, but they boil down to mental health and wellness, academic excellence, the student and family experience, staff support, and a collaborative culture, safety, and planning for the future. You'll hear more about that as they're unpacked in building faculty meetings later today. But I thank the Board of Education for their support of this work and everything that happens here each day, especially these days, again, when our work is under continuous scrutiny and often criticism on a broader level. We're very fortunate to enjoy a tremendous amount of support from our community, but as educators, we certainly know that circumstance is challenging across the country. Our Board of Education president, a former Brighton parent, spouse of a former staff member as well, and a Brighton alum, is here to greet you today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Larry Davis. Love that, Larry. Thank you. And we are proud as hell to work with all of you, actually. Since we're opening up that language, I'm going to just throw it right out there. We are also very proud. The Brighton Alumni Association is an excellent example of what makes this district like no other as well. Their accomplishments as individuals and collective commitment to their school is unparalleled. If you have a moment, there's a kiosk in the front of the high school here in the foyer that shows the Alumni Hall of Fame, an electronic display board where you can actually look up people's yearbooks from way back in the day. Great pictures of Larry, in fact, if you'd like to see them. He'd be thrilled about that, I'm sure. But you can also see the accomplishments of our alums. That was donated by the Alumni Association, but it is a really impressive place to stand and think about the futures that you are creating. They are living it. They embody what happened here for their experience and continue to make us proud. Here to speak to you and greet you on behalf of our alums is Mary Jane Link from the Alumni Association.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am from the class of 1958, before any of you were born, I'm sure. It's hard to believe that that was 64 years ago. And Brighton, of course, was very different, but it was just as special as it is now. The Brighton Schools Alumni Association, BSAA, works to recognize the heritage of Brighton schools, coordinate and support reunion activities, maintain archival materials, and initiate projects that recognize individual and class accomplishments. Matt Camo serves on the board, and we usually have a student representative. Our Hall of Fame began in 2006, and since then we have welcomed more than 68 outstanding alumni at a wonderful dinner in June at Oak Hill. And Kevin mentioned the digital displays. We had to create those because we had so many pictures of the Hall of Fame people that there wasn't room for them. But the displays include so much more, and of course there's one for BSAA and one for BHS. Our scholarship began in 2007. This will be the 16th year. And because of the generosity of alums, the amount is now $2,500 for each of the students' 4 years in college. This year's recipients were Olivia Martinez, Jack Hannigan, and Chloe Cheadle. The committee includes alumni teachers Christina Growney, Adam Hiller, and Ben Vick, and Adam is taking over as chair of the committee. Please encourage the students to apply next spring. We especially focus on school spirit and giving back to Brighton. And Ruth Thaler Carter, the author of our newsletter, created a new $1,000 scholarship to honor former teachers Elizabeth Hart and Louise Thomas. This year's recipient was Sophie Zhao. The focus is overall excellence in written material. At one point, there were 40 Brighton teachers as alums. Just wonderful. And I would ask you to stand if you are a Brighton alum as well as a teacher. It's such a tribute to the school that you would want to return. We also have many books authored by BHS graduates that are in the library. We welcome your involvement in our activities and have a wonderful school year, as you always do at Brighton.
Thank you very much, Mary Jane. We sincerely appreciate that great reminder of the kids that will be leaving our hallways and doing great things, hopefully living up to your legacy and that of your classmates and other alums. So just a brief housekeeping reminder and a thank you as well. I hope you are as proud to be a Bruin as I am. To that end, and thinking about that new normal, I'd like to invite all of you to participate in something new this year. Bruin Blue and White Fridays, every Friday this year. Okay, they may be modified at times perhaps to be Bill's Day, but hey, there's blue in that as well. We're going to be certainly promoting this with families and kids as well. Maybe a day to dress down a little bit differently and celebrate being part of this great school community and being Bruins together. I don't believe that any other superintendent either can say what I say each year to you at this time as we conclude, but I really mean it from their heart. Our collective relationships with each of our bargaining units, our ability to collaborate, to warmly and professionally work together to balance the needs of our staff with our professional needs as well, to support families and focus on students, is so important to what we do. And we have those relationships with many groups, bargaining units that represent paraprofessionals, tutors, clerical staff, technology, buildings and ground staff members, nurses, administrators, teachers, of course. What could be just formal business relationships are much more than that in our mind, and they are great partnerships, warm partnerships. Jamie Porta, the BTA president, and a colleague I've had the pleasure of working with in a different capacity this past year in developing that relationship and that collaborative back and forth, has asked that I remind everybody, the BTA members, that there is a meeting to take place immediately after the conclusion of this meeting right here in this space. And Cheryl Becker, president of the Brighton Educational Paraprofessionals Association, has also asked that I remind everybody there is a meeting in room 262 after this. Same idea, right afterwards. Those will be brief meetings. I appreciate both those relationships a great deal. And Cheryl, thank you also for all that you do to represent the people that you work with. Jamie, Cheryl, and all of the unit presidents, again, are a key to those collaborative professional relationships. So, as I've said to you 14 years in a row now on this opening day, and would like to reiterate once again, the opportunity awaits. Children are much better for having spent their days with you. I know as a dad, my kids will be better off for spending the year with you, for being nurtured, supported, inspired, engaged, taught, and cared for deeply. The world and all of us in it are better off because of the work that you do. You're heroes in this work, and for our children, it will be another great year, but it will be that because of what you do, because of your work and what you put into it. You are Brighton, and you are excellence for all children and families. Thank you, good luck, and best wishes for your best year yet. Take care, everyone.